This is Austin Real Estate Investing.
Austin Real Estate Investing.
We'll be discussing real estate investing in Austin, Texas, and bringing you experts from all different sectors of the real estate game. Your host, Jordan Moorhead, is a real estate agent and investor in Austin and is here to help you get started or to build your portfolio and explore new strategies.
This is Jordan Moorhead, and this is the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today we have another awesome guest for you here, Dave Homyak, and he's going to tell us all about his experience investing in real estate and how he's used virtual assistants to make it extremely easy for him to get a lot of work done without a lot of headache. Hey, Dave, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on here. I know you have a lot of experience investing in real estate, and you've actually replaced your W-2 income with real estate income, passive income through short-term rentals. So could you kind of tell us, how did you get into investing in real estate and why short-term rentals?
Absolutely. So the first time I can remember reading about real estate was at 16 years old, but I was an engineer, had a bunch of anxiety. What if I make the wrong decisions? And so I wrote some contracts on a couple rental places in between, but bottom line is it wasn't until I was age 53 that I finally bought something that wasn't my primary residence. And my goal was, I used to do engine calibration for a living, which just means make the car's engine run smoothly. I've worked for Chrysler, General Motors, most recently General Motors. And bottom line is I said, if I want to replace my engineering income with real estate so I can feel comfortable walking away. And I probably didn't need to do 100%, but I'm like, if I do 100%, then I'm out of excuses, right? I really want to leave, but that's kind of scary because I have a pretty cool job and it's pretty cool salary and benefits and stuff like that. So I jumped on a real estate investing forum that's online called Bigger Pockets and started to do like heavy research, right? You know, like 6 hours a night, get home from work, just eat dinner, boom, jump on there.
Wow.
And so made the decision. So it was equally important that I replace my engineering income in 2 years or less. So I jumped on, I did about a month's worth of heavy deep dive into apartment syndication. And I'm like, I can do this, but I'm not sure I can pull this off in 2 years. And then I switched over to short-term rentals. And some of the money seemed to be really good. And so I said, I'm going to give this a go. And I'd actually partnered with some friends of mine in Austin, and we were doing rental arbitrage. And so, and that it just to give people a really creative way to do rental arbitrage. I don't think you can do it nearly as much today, but this same theory applies. So my friend would see an ad for an apartment for rent. And, you know, let's say it's the 15th of the month. Well, he would wait until like the 10th of the next month. And he would say, I will be happy to sign the lease starting, you know, the next month on the 1st, if you give me the keys today. And then be like, nobody's going to book this thing mid-month. Okay, I'll do it. And then I would fund the furniture. He would go to Goodwill. He would put in furniture in 24 hours, and then he would start to list it, and then he would take the money he earned in the next 15, 16 days to pay the rent that was due the first.
Wow.
And we had 11 like this when things were going full tilt. And then typically after 2 years of managing short-term rentals, one of two things happens. One is you're like happy and you keep doing it, or two is you quit, which was his experience. And then 2 years later, it was my experience. And when I started to self-manage, so I kind of dabbled in short-term rentals and I saw some of the money that could come in, and basically Bigger Pockets confirmed it, decided to go with the Smoky Mountains, bought one in May, and another one in August, and a third one in November. And at that point, I had enough money coming in that I could comfortably quit. In December, they announced buyouts, and I signed up. And February 5th, I walked out. So it was 11 months after I made the decision, 9 months after I purchased my first property.
Oh, so they did buyouts, so right at the same. Did you know that was possibly going to be happening, or did that just happen? That was a cherry on top type of deal.
Had no idea they were going to do that. Yeah. So bottom line is, I said, this is working. Picked up the third one in November, was making stupid money with it, and I'm like, I'm just going to wait until July 1st and just double check everything. And then basically they said, if you leave the building February 5th, we'll pay you like you're in the building to July 1st. And I'm like, sounds good. I'm done.
Yeah, that seems like a perfect deal.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was super, timing worked out super well.
That's awesome. So within 11 months, you bought, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 short-term rentals that covered all of your take-home income?
Correct.
Where are you at today with short-term rentals? You still just have the 3?
Hey guys, this is Jordan Moorhead here, and I wanted to ask if you could do a huge favor for me. If you could go leave a review for this podcast wherever you're listening to it, that would really help me get this into the hands of other people that are interested in information about Austin real estate investing, and I'd be able to help more people. Thanks, guys.
I have upgraded 2 of them, basically to one's an 8-bedroom, and then I got another 5-bedroom with like the most incredible view ever. And that's, you get really, when you've been in a bunch of cabins, you're like, this is a pretty good view. And then you're like, but this is you get way pickier. And then I have another one in Kentucky. So I have 4 now, and I have a development with a partner in Gatlinburg as well. So mine are Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, and then there's one in Shepherdsville, which is just south of Louisville, which is Bourbon Trail.
Yeah.
And if any of your listeners are wanting to know where to make money now, Bourbon Trail, Kentucky, the numbers still make sense. Only place in the country I know that is basically doesn't have regulation and that you can still cash flow.
That's awesome. I'm from Kentucky originally, from Louisville, Kentucky, so very close to where you're talking about.
You say it authentically, the Louisville.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea. We buy real estate in Kentucky. I've bought a lot of real estate in Kentucky, but I've never done short-term rentals. So how did you get from short-term rentals to, I know now you're working helping people find VAs. How did you find a VA? Where did the VA come about? The virtual assistant, for those listening, how did you get to the point where you said, I need to hire a VA? I know it's super popular right now, but you've been doing it for a while.
I have been doing it for a while. Yeah. So this is actually a revealing story about myself and my lack of patience and tolerance. So I ended up getting on some podcasts because I had replaced my engineering income so quickly. One of the unexpected spinoffs of that is a bunch of people started to reach out and said, hey, if you're good at picking this stuff, would like you to help us. So I started to do some math for some people and was helping many people buy stuff in the Smokies for a while, pretty much until interest rates went up, and now it's more challenging. There's still stuff you can buy there that makes sense, but it wasn't like shooting fish in the barrel to make stupid money. I was making 55-60% cash on cash when I was buying in 18.
Wow.
And just for any investors listening out there, if you ever start making 55 or 60% cash on cash, buy every last one. Do not be like me, like, oh, I'll just keep picking up one a year. It's not a bit, because they're appreciating like crazy, because the next guy's like, I'll take 45%. And the next guy's like, I'll take 35%. So the numbers, my stuff tripled from 18 to 22, which is a nice thing. But basically, I had a client. The way that you'd be able to cut to the front of my list was you would have a 1031 exchange and your clock's running. And I'm like, okay, let me help you out with that. And I did 4 hours. This guy had a very specific price. It's like $1 million to $1.3 million, something like that, $1 million to. And I did 4 hours of math, and I presented him this thing. I found this cabin was just smoking, like printing money. It was head and shoulders above. I was tempted to just kind of like buy it myself, but I'm like, no, I'm going to help this client. And after 4 hours of work, I presented to him, and he's like, oh, I'm not buying that cat. Like, it doesn't have a front porch or something ridiculous. I'm like, I was so mad. I just did 4 hours of work. He's like, he's not buying it. So I luckily had a business coach at the time. The business coach, I'm like, I'm never doing math again. I'm never helping these people again. Da, 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 da. So he says, okay, calm down. Like, what was your commission going to be on that cabin? And I'm like, yeah, 16,000. And he's like, how much work did you put in? It's 4 hours. He's like, okay, so you're making $4,000 an hour, but you're never doing that work again. Got it. And he said, well, what happened after that? What did you do with the cabin? I said, I shopped it to another guy. In 45 minutes, he bought it. He says, okay, so you're at 3,000 an hour instead of 4,000, but you're never doing that again. Okay. He says, and I'm guessing that isn't rocket science that you're doing when you're doing the evaluations. I said, no, not really. It's a couple simple formulas. So he's like, why don't you build an Excel spreadsheet? Or actually, I do it in Google Sheets, but basically put in some formulas, have somebody else type in the numbers. I'm like, I can get everyone done for that. So bottom line is, my first VA was hired to help analyze every property that came available in the Smokies, which I still do to this day. And bottom line is, I have certain ratios that I'm looking for, and 95. And then there's a thing called conditional formatting, which basically says if a number is above X or below X, make it a certain color. So 5% of the properties turn green, 95% turn red. If it turns green, I'm comfortable presenting it to a client after I double check the numbers and make sure it's legit and it's what it should be. But that's how that was the first VA that I hired, and she was absolutely amazing. And a lot of that was she had 12 years experience, and she was way more expensive than I thought you should pay for a VA. But I'm like, I kind of want easy and stress-free, and let's get somebody with some knowledge. So
I think that's a common
it's amazing.
misconception with VAs is people just think I need to find somebody that's really, really cheap. I'm $3 an hour, $5 an hour.
Yep.
What's your experience with the cheaper VAs versus the more expensive VAs? And I know there's a difference in currency, of course, with many of these VAs are in different countries, and you're saying, oh, the currency is worth so much more there. But I know my experience with paying people too little in person, and it's not been good.
Have you wanted to be part of GoBundance, the tribe of millionaires, but just haven't hit that millionaire status yet? Well, now you can, not even being a millionaire, by joining our new program, GoBundance Emerge. My name's Jamie Gruber, creator of GoBundance Emerge and member of the GoBundance community. And now you can join. GoBundance.com/emerge. GoBundance.com/emerge. Use code Jordan for $100 off this 12-week goal-setting program and mastermind that'll propel you to being a whole life millionaire.
No. Absolutely not. Yeah. And it's the same thing with VAs, right? One of my favorite, most interesting calls with a potential client who ended up going with us was, I've hired and trained 5 VAs. I've had to fire them all. Why should I get one from you? And my question back was, how much time did you spend training and hiring 5 VAs only to have to fire them? Would you like to get somebody that you're going to be able to train in half the time, and they're going to be able to give you feedback because they have so much experience and have this amazing experience? And I think people as a whole tend to undervalue what their time is worth. If you're worth $100 an hour, you don't want to spend 10 hours training somebody. You want to spend 5 hours training somebody, 5 hours making money. And you want that person to be stellar. You don't want to have to replace them. And so one of the things that the Rockstar VAs does, which is the boutique remote worker company that I have, is if the virtual assistant doesn't have at least 5 years experience, we don't even talk to them. Oh. So we're getting the best of the best. You're going to pay more. You're not going to pay the $3, $5, $6. You're paying more minimum wage-ish, or typically somebody that's college educated that has, 5, 10, 15 years experience. The 2 people that are on my team that kind of run the company both have 15 years experience. And that's pretty common. One of the biggest objections is, will I have problem understanding their English? And majority of the time, basically, if that's important to you, they're going to be on the phone, they're going to be helping, whatever, then we absolutely screen for that. And, one of my guys, his name's Norman, his English is better than mine. He has no accent whatsoever. I'm like, I know I got a little Pittsburgh accent. I grew up there. Right? I throw that out every once in a while. And, even the people that have an accent, it's like you can tell they're not US born, but there isn't any problem understanding them whatsoever. Like, you don't have to work. There's no effort.
Yeah. I have a VA that cold called me. It sounded great.
That's awesome.
She sounded great. And I said, hey,
I love that.
do you want any other work? And yeah, she works for us now making cold calls.
Awesome.
But I think back to the paying people too little, cheaping out. You expect Rockstar performance, but you want to pay a Walmart price. It just doesn't line up. I mean, you have to pay people what they're worth if you expect to get paid what you're worth, in my opinion. And I love that. What's so great about this is, like you're saying, for a reasonable wage, you can get somebody with a college education with lots of experience that's a really hard worker and is just going to make actual progress for you in your business, versus like your friend who trained 5 and had troubles with them all the time. And Dave,
yeah, I think the other thing I'd like to point out is, one of the things that we also do is we kind of quote overpay, which isn't by much, but when you overpay a little bit, you get the cream of the crop, right? So on average, we have 143 people that apply for each customized, individualized job description we put out. And that's where you're going to get the best of the best, is you overpay them a little bit and you're getting everybody and their brother to sign up for it. And then you're screening for the top 5 out of that pool of 140 some applicants.
Yeah.
That's our secret sauce. That's
awesome. And I think that's going to be the difference between being successful and being frustrated.
Exactly.
Having a huge pool of people looking for the job.
Right. And just a huge time suck, right? Like there's nothing that I do that somebody else can't do. No, we fine-tuned it and we have an Intermetrics personality test that combines 3 of the world's best profile tools, and first 100 of your listeners that would like to get a free one that's normally $295 if they went online and took it. They can actually hit pause now and go in the show notes, because you're going to say, I kind of want to do that, but I'm going to do it at the end of the podcast, and then you're going to get busy. So just hit pause, go do it now. Well, we use that to screen the virtual assistants to help align them best with the clients that we're helping. And we have a bunch of other things that we've added in over time that make it as seamless as possible. I'm all about saving the client time and helping them craft a plan for what their business actually needs. One of the other really fun stories is we had a client that hired a virtual assistant full time. A couple weeks in, they're like, I'm not even using this person. I'm nowhere close to full time. And I said, talk to Norman. He's our performance maximization specialist. And Norman quizzed this guy so much on his business that at the end of the call, the guy needed to hire a second virtual assistant. So that's the type, we're the virtual assistant experts. We're not going to say, here's your virtual assistant, good luck. We're going to say, here's the virtual assistant. We're going to walk you through and keep going from now on and make sure that you're getting the maximum performance out of the virtual assistant, and that we're going to suggest things in your business that you can actually have them do that you might not be aware of.
And Dave, I have to ask, because you mentioned it, how many listings every month are your people screening for you?
Thousands.
So there's thousands that come to the Smoky Mountains.
Say that. Okay.
So you talked about that in the Smokies, you have somebody that runs every listing through a screen.
Okay. I thought you were talking about how many virtual assistants we were screening, which is thousands. About 180, between 180 and 200 a month.
Okay.
So basically every day she comes in and I'm like, whatever's new in the last 24 hours, I want that put into the spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. And then the way I do it is just every month we switch, because otherwise it would get insanely long.
Yeah.
So like, this has been on this many months, this is whatever. And then if there's a price drop, we go and re-put in the number, and then it might change it from red to green depending on the price drop. But, yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. So you're pre-screening listings for clients that are looking for short-term rentals in the Smokies, sounds like.
Jordan Moorhead here.
Really quickly, wanted to tell you a couple other ways you can keep track of us. If you want to listen to all these podcasts and ask questions, the Moorhead team on YouTube is the best place to be. And then Austin Real Estate Investors on Meetup is a great place to keep track of all of our meetups we have going on.
Exactly. So if somebody comes in, says, I have a 1031, I needs to be over $1 million. I would ideally like to land 1 million to 1.1, but I'll go to 1.3. Then I just pull up then I do a search on 1 million to 1.3, whatever's green, I pull up, then I start looking at it. Has it been around? Basically, has it been around a while? Can we shoot them a lower number than what they're asking? If it's still fresh, then they're not typically wanting to negotiate. So I'm like, how can we get the best value for this amount of money that's coming in?
What's the percentage you're looking for as far as, I think you said there was a profit percentage or some sort of metric you're looking to hit with these properties?
Yeah. So the way it's quite simple, really. It's basically sales price, and then you divide that by gross income coming in. So ideally, they'll have good gross income numbers. If not, you can use AirDNA to see what they think it'll make. If you're going to use AirDNA, you have to put in a bedroom count, and a lot of the stuff in the Smokies is like, oh, it's a 2-bedroom septic, but there's 5 bedrooms. Okay, so part of it is you have to be actually counting how many different bedrooms there are in there, because you can only sell it as a 2-bedroom per MLS and real estate agent rules. But you can list it as anything you want as long as the bedroom's actually there. So they're, one of the best gems I've seen in kind of for forever. There was something that was listed as a 2-bedroom that was a 5-bedroom cabin. Wow. And it was making stupid money. But everybody that's looking had their search for 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom, and nobody had their search set for 2-bedroom that actually has 5 in there. So, I mean, it made incredible money. I'm sure the septic system had to get pumped on a very regular basis because it was getting overwhelmed. But that's kind of like stuff you see in the Smokies, right?
Cool. So for real estate investors specifically, what are the ways they can use VAs to make their business both more productive and easier?
So I've seen it both from like real estate agent. So it's like, I'm going to do social media posts. I'm going to do cold calling. I'm going to do transaction coordination. I'm going to do follow-up calls, so there's like a real estate agent side. And then there's a side like mine of, I want deals analyzed, and I want them analyzed in this certain area. I'm the expert in the area, you need to kind of do that to know what's going on. But it's like, why would I want to spend a couple hours a day doing all that stuff when I can just farm that out, especially when you have a lot of clients in varied price ranges, and just keeping up on emails, keeping up on having them join you in a meeting and take notes. There's just a ton of different stuff. My first conversation with my virtual assistant was, basically she's like, what time zone are you in? I'm like, Eastern. She goes, I'm planning on working from you from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. unless you think I'll be more effective by moving my hours one way or the other. I'm like, no, that's good. And then the second thing she said is, what do you need help with? And I'm like, well, I need help with my email. And I think everybody kind of needs help with their email. She said, what do you want me to do with the email? And I said, I want you to do these 3 things. And she's very gentle with me, right? She said, we can do those 3 things, or we can do these 5 other things. But if you want those 3, no, I don't want those 3. You're right. Your experience is way better. Thank you very much. We're going to use Asana to track tasks, and we're going to be able to reassign them to other VAs as they come on and all this stuff, So it was like, and then we're going to, move the email around in different ways and stuff like that. So I think that's where getting somebody to help walk you through exactly what you can do with what you can trust a virtual assistant to do comes in. One of the other questions we get, very valid, legitimate question, is, well, do they have bank account information? Do they have credit card information? And my thing is it takes time to build trust. So she worked for me for like 3 months, and I needed to buy something. And I'm like, just here's the credit card, go on Amazon, order this thing. And then it's probably about a year later, we needed to start to do payroll from the Rockstar VAs, and like, so she has bank account access. She's running payroll. She's doing all this stuff. And I mean, and what I end up doing is I just basically I say, can you give me the payroll sheet? She does. I move over the slightest bit more money just to make sure everything's covered. And then she divvies it out to all the people. So that's the way like a legit company does payroll, is they, General Motors or whoever, they move that money over the day before, everything's double checked. But bottom line is, if you're going to do that in person or you're going to do that remotely, either way, you have to trust the person and they have to have a track record. So that's where I really like having people that have all this experience. And bottom line is, the hourly rate in the Philippines is typically very low for a job that you'd show up to, an in-person job. So being a remote team member, a virtual assistant in the Philippines, is a very prestigious job because they're getting paid more than most of the people. And that makes it really easy when people are looking to, we placed architects. My friend in Tampa was paying $125 an hour. I think we placed her at like right under $20 an hour. So he's getting 85% off. I mean, it's like, you throw in architects, you throw in bookkeepers. My personal favorite is somebody that has management experience. So for example, my rock star that I first hired, her name's Jessica, and she runs my team of 7, right? So she's like, this person's doing this person's doing that. She's doing all the quality control, all the checking. They're here, they're not here. We need to shift some hours on this thing that you gave her isn't taking as long as you originally anticipated. I suggest she helps screen other VAs for the VA side of the company instead of doing more analysis of properties in the Smokies or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the other big piece that I think people underestimate is, I don't want to hire a virtual assistant, clear up some of the stuff on my plate, but then have to be double checking all their work, right? That's not, I want one person that I can totally trust that runs the team and knows how to fill in for that other person if they're sick or whatever. So just could fill in for anybody.
And that's the right person, right seat you're talking about there. You have to hire the right people, and you have to put them in the right seat on the ship, in the right position in your company, or you're going to be doing more work than you would have been doing, checking over their work or fixing the problems. But when you get an awesome employee, VA or non-VA, whatever it is, it makes your life so much easier. So, you're doing a lot of that work you're doing all that work for people. You're going out, you're finding the right people, you're screening them, you're putting them in the right job for them to really make things so easy. So what's the average cost of a VA that you place for somebody for, let's call it a entry-level administrative tasks?
Make sure to come check out our meetup, Austin Real Estate Investors, here in Austin. That is every second and fourth Thursday of every month. We would love to see you there. Again, it's Austin Real Estate Investors, and you can find it on meetup.com.
So entry-level administrative, we would pay for their health care, we would pay for their holidays, and we would charge $12 an hour.
Okay.
So I think the other objection that I hear is, but I can't use that person full time. And my answer to that is, let's say your time is worth $100 an hour. If that person can do 1 hour of work for you a day, you've broken even. And if you can figure out anything else more than an hour a day, you now have gained time back that you can use more productively for where your skill set is and where your high level performance is, where you make the most money. So I'm very much like, everybody needs a VA. Like, unless you're like really poor, like, then you don't need a VA, but everybody else totally needs a VA.
Well, I think that you can use them to do so much. And I can relate with what you said of thinking, oh, I don't have enough work for this person. Because I remember when I hired my first assistant, I said, well, I can do all this work and I don't need them to do it. But then I realized that it's not only that it frees up time when you hire the right people to take care of the work that both you maybe are not good at and don't need to be doing, but it frees up so much focus and headspace for you to go out there and be more effective and close more deals, because you're able to meet with more people and talk with more people and think about things that are going to be your highest and best use of time. I had a coach who used to always tell me, habu, 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 highest and best use. You just stick to your highest and best use, or maybe you do something that you enjoy. rather
Mhm.
than do something you hate. And because you're doing something you enjoy, you have so much better of a mental state. You're able to just be happier and get more work done then too. So to me, it's not all about how much work can I get done. And absolutely, that's a big reason I like hiring help, hiring VAs, whether it's in person or virtual assistant.
Mhm.
But it's how can I not do the things that I really don't like doing so I'm happier? Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually beautifully said. So it's like you can make the work go away, but you also gain so much time back that you can get creative and come up with other deals or meet other people. Or you get to spend more time with your family or your friends or traveling or what. I mean, that's you said it so much better than I ever have, but that was beautiful. Like you can tell you have a really good understanding of exactly how this works and how powerful it is, which is really cool.
Yeah. It's just leverage, and there's leverage. And so there's so many different ways you can get leverage, whether it's through technology or through VAs or through team members in person. But
Mhm.
if you want to live a big life, and Dave, you know this, I don't know anybody in GoBundance that doesn't have some sort of assistant or virtual assistant or some sort of leverage in their life.
Right.
If you want to live a big life, you have to have leverage. And VAs are just an awesome, really easy, really effective way to get leverage. And it sounds like the Rockstar VAs is a really effective way to get an awesome Rockstar VA that will multiply your results and make your life so much easier.
Yeah, we solve people's pain, right? Whatever their pain is, we can typically find somebody to make it go away quickly and efficiently where there's a lot of other ways to do it. You know, you can go out and watch a bunch of YouTube videos and do this all on your own too, but it's just, this is the easier, softer way.
Absolutely. So, Dave, what's the first step for somebody looking to possibly learn more about the Rockstar VAs, or let's say they're ready to hire their first VA? I know we're going to put links in the show notes, but just what's the process like?
Yeah. So it's, you'd go to either the show notes and use the referral link that Jordan has, or you can go to the rockstarvas.com, sign up for a free consultation. We work with you to come up with an individualized job description tailored to exactly what you want. The other tip I will throw out to your listeners is, and I tell this to potential clients when we're talking, I said, if this works out really well, what do you want that person doing in 6 months? And they're like, oh, that's good. Actually, I would add on this and this, add that in right at the beginning because one is going to work out and two, you're going to be amazed. So I've seen people not put things in job descriptions that absolutely should have been included when they're hiring using our company, and then basically approve the job description. We put that out. Our model is painless as possible. We just say we start the search when you pay for the first 2 weeks up front. And within 5 business days, we distill 140 some people on average down to the top 5. You can do Zoom interviews. I say do them with all 5. Everybody that is on that interview and that we give you the resume for beforehand is capable of doing the job. And I can't stress enough that a resume, do not make the decision on the resume. This is going to be more like a husband-wife relationship or something. Like you need somebody you get along with. You need somebody that you're kind of in sync with, and you're going to be able to tell that on a Zoom call. I've seen people just pick on their resume is a little stronger. I don't want to waste the hour. I'm like, that is the most important hour like of your
Yeah.
life. If you're going to have this massive shift, spend 12 minutes per person, spend 15 minutes per person, whatever it is, one will pop out to you. It's like, this is the person I need. And so bottom line is, yeah, after the job description is done, 5 business days later, you pick somebody, they start the next day. So you're sick, you're a week away from making your life infinitely easier.
And more productive.
And more productive.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, I think you've outlined the process really well. Anything else people need to know about, possibly thinking about hiring a VA, or if they should hire a VA? And I know you said that everybody should have it unless you just really are financially constrained, but would there be any other reason why not to just hire a VA today or start the process?
No, and part of the thing is when you start to get your time back, like you're saying, you get so much more productive. So like the thing that I see is I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even think I have time to train the VA. And it's like, you needed to hire that person like 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago. Right. So it's harder to explain to people, you're on the verge of taking off. You're on the verge of your business exploding. You having so much more time to do the things you're really good at. People need to get these remote team members sooner than they think. They shouldn't wait until their back's against the wall and they're like, man, I really wished I trained somebody when I had the time to do it. Now I'm jamming and I'm like, it's going to be harder, right? So, I mean, that's my other observation with the clients that come in last minute. We have people, we have people replacing their entire US team with our people because they're like, you know what, this is working out so incredibly well. We're just going to, anytime anybody leaves or whatever underperforms, we're just, we're going to plug in. So, I mean, I think one of the interesting things is we've placed 130 VAs in the last 2 years. We haven't advertised. It's all word of mouth. It's all referrals. People are super happy with our product. So I think that speaks volumes for kind of the quality that we do and the value that we provide.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, thank you so much. I don't have any more questions. Do you have anything other you'd like to add for our listeners?
No, I appreciate you having me on though, Jordan.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here. And again, everybody listening, please go to the show notes, check out everything about Dave and about the Rockstar VAs. I'm very sure you're going to be happy that you hired a VA and you've got your time back and are more productive.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jordan.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye.